Hello, I'm here to talk about the Death Note Netflix movie. I've made a couple of videos, but I haven't posted any of them because, well, my internet signal is terrible here, so just wasting time making another video. I'll edit it out later if I remember. So, many of us are not necessarily excited about the Death Note Netflix movie coming out August 25th, or at least not excited for the sake of watching it and enjoying the movie as a whole. Most of us are just waiting for a chance to rip on it, actually. We're probably going to watch it. I keep on seeing things about how, oh no, don't go watch it because then you're supporting it and then we might get a sequel. And I'll have my thoughts about that later on in this video. But honestly, you're probably going to watch the movie, whether it be with friends or by yourself. Just have fun with it. Make the best out of a situation that you're not necessarily fond of. I mean, I'm not really excited about this movie either. Other than that, the only thing I'm excited for is to rip on it. There's only one real thing that I am genuinely hopeful for, but I'll explain that later. So, let me get started. This is going to be kind of predictions and criticisms video because, well, I have no particular order necessarily. I kind of just rant and I go from one subject to another. So don't be surprised if I just completely lose track. So here we go. So the anime characters is what I'm going to try to start with without going into the Netflix what is likely going to be a flop. Anime is a light, calm, Light is a calm, strong sense of justice, bored genius type character. He's in the right place at the right time, and he develops kind of a god complex as it goes along. He has a sense of conflict at first when he first starts using the notebook because he realizes what he just did is considered murder. It's actually hard to call him a bad guy in some sense because he's actually just another victim of the Death Note. As much as it pains me to kind of agree with Nier in some sense because I hate that little bastard, the rules do state in the Death Note that the one using it shall, to some extent, be possessed by the Shinigami. So, I mean, he kind of gets lost in this while still trying to maintain his humanity. So, moving on to Misa. Misa is an idol and model. She has a deep fondness for Kira for killing the person who killed her parents. She feels like she owes a sort of debt to him. She ends up also kind of falling for Light, though we kind of see that the feeling isn't necessarily mutual, and he just kind of keeps her around to be useful. She is fine with being used by Light, and in some sense, she's actually a badass. She endured torture from L, and even personally took on the mission of trying to expose Higuchi. She's actually a lot more smart than many people give her credit for. And that's one of the things I like about her, as annoying as she can be sometimes. L is a calm, rational detective who is awkward, loves sweets, and doesn't necessarily care for social norms. Hence the way that he sometimes reads while he sits, even though he usually reads upside down or in a weird way. The way that he picks up something, he's just kind of being very particular, and he has, again, speculation that possibly that he has Asperger's or some form of autism. Many of us speculate about that, and I remember some kind of article saying that the creators never really intended for him to be like that, necessarily, or ever thought of him as autistic. But I digress. Ryuk, a bored trickster Shinigami who wants to see something interesting, so he drops a notebook into the human world. Now, the reason I say he's a trickster Shinigami is because he actually tricked the Shinigami King into giving him an extra death note. He is also probably a lot more smart than people give him credit for. He didn't choose Light. Because Light isn't some, perfect individual who is just, chosen to be the god of the world. He just happened to be in the right place at the right time. He caught the Death Note out of the corner of his eye. That's just about it. He has a deep fondness for human apples, and his portrayal in the movie is actually fairly accurate. Now, let's go over what they got wrong and how this, unique and original series portrays each character. Light looks like a total school shootery type character, most obvious aspect. And all that comes to mind is the Monty Python meme that I created recently. How do you know he's the serial killer? 'Cause he looks like one! Mia, which is Discount Misa, is some caring, moody cheerleader who really likes Kira or Light because this world just sucks so much. She probably gets bullied from time to time and doesn't know her place in the world, so she just would rather throw it into chaos. That's what I predict her to be like. L. Not much really to go on, probably going to have the least amount of character personality. He might even actually be angry as he slams the phone down and you see M&Ms fly everywhere. So they kept the whole sweets thing and how he sits thing, but this isn't really L. There doesn't seem to really be much awkwardness to him. He actually seems to be just some kind of really angry detective who eats candy as a coping mechanism. Predictions roll out so that they could go. Mia is going to have some kind of you have to keep killing and using the death note if you want me to love you, be a man type moment. Light is going to drink alcohol and party with Mia prior to their makeout scene. Hey, you've already killed people, you might as well just break any more laws. Elle is going to have some kind of friendship with Light, kind of like how we saw in the anime, but still maintain his suspicion, and possibly even be conflicted to some extent. Like, I don't know, he's the first friend I ever really had, man. I really don't want him to be Kira. And so he's probably going to try to make some kind of deal, which Light will turn down, because he's Frodo in this sense. You have the power to stop and throw the ring into the fire, but you choose not to, because the power feels so good and it possesses you. Ryuk, not really much to go on, but his portrayal is actually fairly accurate. This is probably the only character that they're probably going to get even remotely accurate. Because, I mean, a lot of people keep on going like, oh, he's just an observer, he's not a manipulator. I like to say he's a little bit of both. I mean, this is clearly a Shinigami who kind of knows what he's doing. As much as it seems like he's just kind of in it for the ride and just kind of effing around. Now, what I said earlier about one of the things that I'm actually genuinely looking forward to, and this is the benefit that maybe you're not seeing, some kind of silver lining that we might actually get. If they leave it on a decent enough cliffhanger, then we might actually see the sequel we never knew we wanted. Because if we get this sequel, that means we'll possibly have characters that we've never seen before in the Death Note universe. I mean, this would be closer to just saying close to some kind of unique adaptation as opposed to what they're doing, which seems like they're just ripping and changing around the characters. Now, it's not really, in my mind, an adaptation if you're just trying to keep the original material but also drift away from it. No, that's something you can do, and they've clearly stated this is supposed to be an adaptation, and not supposed to be a copy and paste Death Note, because it's already been done so many times before, whether it be a musical, live-action version in Japan, and I agree, we don't need to have the same thing over and over again. But what I would like is to have a better portrayal. Like, if they made Mia a pop idol, as I heard from somebody else, who probably also heard from somebody else, that would have been a smart choice, as it stays a little bit closer to the character to begin with. And it might make us hate that character a little bit more, but, you know, it's something that's actually staying close to the original. They will hopefully do the smart thing and try to use the feedback that you, the viewer, give them, and possibly make a decent sequel. Because think about it, that would make you kind of the author of this. You can get an ending that you never knew you wanted. And I think that's kind of a plus. It's something that we've never gotten before, it's something we've never seen before, and it'd be a lot more original than what we're about to see. So, again, I have high hopes, but I have low expectations about how this is going to turn out. I don't see it going in a great direction necessarily. I don't see it changing anything. The only thing I see happening is more people are going to get upset and be like, oh no, I didn't like it. And more people who aren't familiar enough with the original are going to enjoy it because, well, they're not familiar with the original. And this gives you an opportunity to actually show them the anime, which is probably going to blow this out of the water. And if they still say that they like the movie more than the original anime, delete them. You don't need that kind of negativity in your life. So, that's my thoughts on this Death Note Netflix movie that we're going to be seeing. Am I expecting it to be a pile of garbage? Yes. Is this based off of what we've seen in anime in the past and live action in America? Actually, no. I'm not really basing this off of anything other than this time my seeing it personally, not forming a judgment and not being some kind of weeaboo just because, oh, well, anime in America never really makes sense. Netflix is pretty good about these things. I mean, I actually enjoyed The Seven Deadly Sins, a Netflix original. The question is whether or not this is actually Netflix or just, being shown by Netflix. There's a difference. So hopefully we get something actually fairly decent out of this. I wouldn't necessarily expect it, but if I'm surprised, then yeah, I'll possibly even enjoy this. That's my take on it. I hope that we all have a fun time, and we all either enjoy ripping on it or enjoy seeing it as a whole, maybe with some friends. Just one thing, quick little PSA. Please don't do the Death Note drinking game. I mean, none of us have to die from this. Otherwise, it's just proving the power of the Death Note accurate. But no, seriously, do not do a Death Note drinking game. Because you probably will die. And honestly, I'd rather not hear a whole bunch of things on the news and, anime to get a bad rap again. All the fans are kind of sick of how things keep going. It's like, oh, well, anime people are just something, bad stereotype here. That is all I have to say. Have fun. Don't end up in the hospital. And I'll see you August 26th.